What's up, guys? Welcome back to another Personal Opinion Podcast episode. It's Lauryn and Whitney.
It's Whitney and Lauryn.
And just like all the other ones, this one's going to be a good one. You want to tune in.
Happy Monday.
Stay here, stay here, stay here. What are we talking about today, Whit?
We are talking about imposter syndrome, what it is, how it happens, a little bit of how to combat it. Combat? Yeah.
Yeah.
So, let's dive right in.
Let's get to it. Also, I would just like to say, I'm sure that everybody can relate to this some way, somehow.
Oh, absolutely.
Anyway,
I know I do. I do all the time.
time.
Imposter syndrome is my whole... It's just what I am. Okay, so what is it? Imposter syndrome is a psychological experience that causes people to doubt their skills and success, characterized by a persistent feeling of inadequacy and the belief that success is undeserved. I can think of every single situation in my life, everything that I've been a part of where I feel that to some degree.
Yeah.
Where it's, whether it be like when my first year of coaching, going into it, I was like, maybe I'm not ready for this. Maybe I don't have what I need to be good at it. Maybe people see me as a fraud, that like I'm trying to do something that I'm not prepared for.
Yes.
Or like when I was starting my career, going through interview after interview after interview, I was like, maybe I don't have what I need to like be successful.
We talked about that.
Yeah.
Because during your interview process, that was obviously my first year of coaching. So like both of us were kind of going through that some way. But like it was kind of hard because we were like, all these other people who were not student athletes have all of this experience, because honestly, that is kind of, it can be a fact, but I also think sometimes we can think about that in too deep, a little bit too much, because we are qualified in a lot of other areas that student athletes cannot offer, although we cannot offer the time to internships and all of that as we are student athletes. So it's kind of like, it's a two-way thing. Like, we can offer what other people can't, and other people can offer what we just weren't able to do, depending on the field that we were getting into.
Yeah, and I even had conversations with some of my professors towards the end of my college career of like, hey, this is honestly concerning to me. Like, I see a bunch of my peers able to pursue internships and have experience that are more related to the field that they're going to be going into. I don't have the time to do that, and it's kind of scaring me. And one of the things that they were like, you're getting experience that's different, and it speaks to different aspects of your abilities, while it might not be, learning different sales systems or whatever, like workflows, but you are learning something, and you're showing something that's a little bit different. You're showing your ability to work well in a team and stay committed to a team. You're showing your ability to take on big time commitments and stay consistent with them. You're showing that you are driven and hardworking and able to be coached and mentored. Like, those are the other aspects that you learn from being a student athlete.
Yeah. I had something sent to me. I don't know if you sent it to me. You probably didn't.
I don't know what you're talking about.
So,
I don't know what I sent you. What were you sent?
I think it was an Instagram reel. My mom might have sent it to me, but it was this guy saying, like, when somebody asks, like, if you're interviewing for a job, if somebody asks, why should I hire you? You know, that big question. Or, like, what sets you apart from everybody else? Why should I pick you? And the guy said, you should pick me because I was a college athlete. And he listed basically everything that you said. I know what it's like to wake up at 5 a.m. and go to workouts and then go to class and then have to do homework and then go back to workouts and then sacrifice family time, sacrifice holidays, sacrifice the fact that I wasn't able to, go to all these college parties because I had to be up at 5 a.m. the next day. I was forced to keep my priorities straight, and I was and he went into depth about that, and I feel like it actually made me think of this exact same thing, because for me, especially these past couple of years, and I think that you might be able to relate, but for me, like, I know how much being a student athlete is positive, but also like your job search, it kind of like started to weigh on you. Like, am I qualified? Because I haven't done this, because I don't have 5 years of experience, but in reality, like, instead of using that, like, for me, I took a reality check because I was like, instead of using that as like a handicap, kind of like holding me back just a tiny bit, like, it actually really propels me in front of people, especially in the profession that I want to get into as far as facility management and like working in gyms and stuff. Like, they're not going to want to hire somebody that's not used to being physically fit, that's not used to the grind, quote unquote, like, that's not used to all of that running that business. You get like, so it's kind of like, it's interesting because, like you said, like, you get into coaching. Like, for me, my first year of coaching, I was like, there were some days I would be standing in practice and I'm like, I don't even think I'm qualified for this. Mm-hmm. Like what makes me more prepared in this realm than somebody else? Yeah. Like, I was like almost the thief of freaking joyous comparison. Like, that's kind of what I was doing sometimes, of like, maybe this isn't for me. Yeah. And I think, like, everybody's like, oh, are you going to be a coach? Are you going to be a coach? And I'm like, oh, like, it's not really what I want to do, because sometimes I feel like I'm not either meant to be in that space or I'm not qualified to be, even though I'm just as qualified as probably any other 24-year-old that would be going for a coaching job.
Yeah. And I think imposter syndrome is especially tough whenever you're young, because you don't have a whole lot of experience or success to point to of like, oh, I've done this consistently. It's like, no, I'm just now in this space, right, whatever that is, whether it be coaching or your career. Mm-hmm. But I think it's interesting you talk about sacrifices. I actually was just talking the other day with some moms of young student athletes. They've got girls that are playing volleyball in high school. And they were like, it's interesting to see how a lot of their peers who have been playing for a while and have been playing with them are choosing to prioritize like their life outside of volleyball. So they're not doing the travel teams. They're not doing high school teams anymore. Like, but I am
seeing that so heavy right now.
But sometimes, like, that's a decision that you have to make, is like, okay, am I dedicated to pouring my life into this sport? Do I love it that much? And I think whatever decision you make is what's best for you, because if you're going to prioritize your friendships and your family and your schoolwork, and not that you can't prioritize those things and be a student athlete, because you absolutely can, but if you want that time aspect to be able to focus more intently on those things and being able to go to your high school dances and being a part of like student government or whatever that other aspect that you want to pour into looks like, then that's sometimes a decision that you have to make, is like, what's more important? Yeah. And I think that for young people to be making those decisions at that age and be able to process through that and prioritize certain aspects of their life is really, really cool. Yeah. Whichever side they pick, whichever way they want to go with it. Yeah.
I was talking with one of my parents the other day, not my parent, but one of my clients' parents. And he was like, he pulled her off of a club team and basically said, oh, only 2 girls showed up to play in a tournament. Well, obviously in basketball you need 5. And he said, yeah, all the other girls went to the rodeo together and they didn't show up for the tournament. And I was like, really? Whitney, my parents would never. We're talking about freshmen going into sophomore girls. My parents would never. That is something that I was taught. Like, and this is a whole nother realm. I know you said like that, like, these kids have that decision at such a young age. Their parents I'm not talking making decisions for them.
I'm not talking about dropping a team halfway through the season. Right. I'm not talking about missing for different stuff. I'm talking about after season, in between, when you have the decision to make. Not I'm not talking about dipping whatever. Not talking about being straight in it. I mean, I mean, after season, we're going into summer, and they're like, you know what? I feel like I need to prioritize other
Right.
areas of
When
my
you
life.
should be grinding.
What?
Or if, like, when you could be grinding. Like, in the off season. Like, that's what you're saying, right?
No. I'm saying after club season is done, and they're looking back on it and saying, I sacrificed a lot of my friendships, student government, high school dances, stuff like that. I don't want to sacrifice that again, so I'm not going to make another commitment to it.
Okay. Yeah, okay.
I'm going to commit to something else.
Okay.
Cool?
So are they playing the sport or not?
Not.
Okay.
Well,
So
some and some. You have people making the decisions either way.
right.
Okay.
Right. No, I get what you're saying. So like
So the ones who are that's why I ran into them, is because they were at a volleyball
right.
like camp or whatever,
Mhm.
and so they're still in the grind. They're making the decision that they're going to stick with volleyball. They're
Right.
going to play on the club teams, high school teams, all that good stuff. So they're not spending their summers going on vacations. They're spending it in the gym.
Right.
Cool.
Right.
Okay.
Okay.
But they're telling me about some of their friends.
I think we were on the same page, but
Different chapter.
Yeah.
Different sentence.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Paragraph.
Okay.
Anyway, anyways, where I was going was just like the fact that
Parents
can teach their kids that if they enjoy something and want to be successful at it, then they are going to have to sacrifice certain things.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's where I was going with that. Now, imposter syndrome.
Yes. Back on track.
Yeah.
Imposter syndrome. I don't even know where we were with that. Or okay. So it's feeling inadequate, feeling like you're not prepared to be in whatever space you're in, or whatever role or position you're in, feeling like you don't have what it takes, or you're not as successful as you're trying to make people think you are.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think it's something we all struggle with, especially, and I think student athletes do as well, especially when tryout season rolls around. You're trying out for all the club teams. You don't know. Yeah, I think that it hits hard during tryout season.
Yeah.
And when you're going through interviews, it also hits hard.
Mm-hmm.
At least for me, it did and does.
Yeah.
But
For sure.
yeah, and when you're entering a new role and I don't know, I feel like we struggle. And there are sciences that tell us that women do struggle with it worse than men.
Really?
Yeah. So one of the things that I read about said some research suggests higher levels of neuroticism in women. So they experience the imposter syndrome, while men can be more likely to exhibit narcissistic tendencies, which can be associated with self-inflated perception.
Interesting.
So while women are like, am I good enough? Men are like, no, I can do whatever. I'm good. I'm chilling. You tell me what to do, and I'll do it. And I'll be a boss at it. Whereas women are like, ooh. Oh, and back to that's why women are less likely to apply for jobs that they don't meet all the criteria for.
Yeah.
Is because they're like, well, I don't hit all of these, so I'm not gonna apply because I don't know if I'm good enough.
Whereas we talked about that with Kelly, didn't we?
Yeah, I hit A and B, so I'll apply.
Yeah. We talked about that with Kelly, right?
Yeah.
Go watch our Kelly episode.
She's awesome. Kelly's great.
Love that. Yeah.
But yeah, so a little bit about why we feel it. Perfectionism is a big one.
Yeah.
Like if you want to be perfect, if you want to be the best there is, like you're going to set really, really high standards for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't hit them, then you're going to think that if you're not the best, you're the worst. Kind of that part. Yeah, if you believe that you're not competent or capable, like that can lead to it. So.
Yeah, and you might feel like let's talk about, I know, I hate to bring up freaking comparison. It's annoying. But it's real life, okay? It's real life. But like, it's like kind of going into a test and you like ask your friend, oh, did you study? Yeah, I'm feeling really confident. And then you're like, oh, I should have studied. Because, like, you think you have to do the same thing as everybody else to prepare. But in reality, like, everybody's different. So, like, if you are confident in your ability to know yourself and how you prepare for job interviews and how you prepare for applications and how you prepare for what's on your resume and putting stuff on your resume and how you prepare for games and how you, like, all this stuff, like, if you're confident in how your brain works, it doesn't matter what anybody else has done when it comes to preparation and feeling like you're worthy of achieving and being good at, whatever you choose to do.
Well, and that's one of the things I was going to bring up as far as how to combat imposter syndrome is having enough self-awareness to know what is best for you and in what systems you operate best. So I learned really early in my college career, like preparing for a test, I couldn't ask other people what they were doing or what they weren't doing, unless it was like sharing notes and stuff like that, because I didn't need the 5-hour study sessions that other people needed. And especially, it was weird when talking to some of my teammates. I was a business major, so my studying was a little bit different than the nursing majors on my team, because they had so much more content to cover that they had to, like, prepare for and know everything, like hundreds and hundreds of terms for a test every other week. So they would spend 5 hours studying for a single test, whereas mine was like, okay, I've got a couple terms, but more than that, I need to know how they're applicable. And so my studying was just different. And so I had to learn that really, really fast, is that I didn't need the super long study sessions. I just needed short ones because that's what worked for me. And so I think to combat imposter syndrome, it requires knowing how your brain works and setting yourself up for success based on previous performances. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like, understanding this is how my brain works. This is how I found success in the past. So I'm going to rely on that a little bit to carry me through, because I know that the same preparation has the same outcome.
Yeah. Yeah.
So why worry?
Right.
Cool.
Okay, can I tell you the 5 types of imposter syndrome?
Please.
Okay. The first one, the perfectionist. This is the type of imposter syndrome involves believing that unless you were absolutely perfect, you could have done better. You feel like an imposter because your perfectionistic traits make you believe that you are not as good as others might think that you are.
Yep. That's me. That's me.
Yeah. Yep.
Because I'm like, I don't have everything, so I have nothing. Because look at what all these people have.
Yeah.
And then I realized that that's crap.
Amen.
Here's the thing. There's not a single person on this planet that has everything together.
Amen.
There's not a single person.
And something I will say, because due to sometimes of my boredom, I will scroll.
I was just about to bring up social media.
On social media. And I just I'm like, oh my gosh, all these celebrities, they go to freaking Costa Rica and Bermuda, and they just go on all these trips and stay in these $1 million villas, and they get all these brand deals to Coachella, and it's just like all this stuff I'm seeing, and I'm like, they must just they just live the perfect life.
No. And because the same thing that you go through of posting your highlights of your life on social media is exactly what every single other person on this planet does.
Yes. Yes. Exclamation point.
And there are some influencers that are like family, like moms or whatever, and they'll be like, hey guys, I'm going to bring you through a day in the life. And it actually kind of sucked. Like, I love those.
Yeah.
Or the people who will actually post like the real nitty gritty of what's going on in their life to like normalize it. I love those. Yeah. I love them.
Making it feel more real, you could say.
Because your life, everyone's life around you is not what you see on their social media. There's so much more. There's not a single person on this planet that has it all figured out.
And if
your mom doesn't have it figured out. They all got stuff going on that you just don't know about.
That's true.
And I stand by that.
Do you know who the Ace family is?
No.
Oh, man. There's some tea going on with them guys. If you need an example and you don't know who that is, go look it up. If you do know what I'm talking about, you know.
If you know, you know.
We can
I don't
talk
know
about it after the show.
Please.
Okay. Don't let me forget, though. Okay. Next one. The expert. The expert feels like an imposter because they don't know everything there is to know about a particular subject or topic, or they haven't mastered every step in a process. Because there is more for them to learn, they don't feel as if they've reached the rank of quote-unquote expert.
You know the phrase that's like, the more you know, the less you think you know, and the less you know, the more you think you know? Have you heard that?
No.
So it's basically like, people who know a lot are going to feel like there's so much more to learn.
Yeah.
So they are very, very humble about what they know.
Mm-hmm.
It's the idiots that you have to worry about.
Because they think they know.
Because they know nothing.
Yeah.
And yet they're going to make everyone think that they know everything.
I wonder if that's just because the people who know a lot are always striving to learn more.
Yes.
But the ones who like have found that niche for one thing feel like they just know everything, but they don't have that urge to like dive deeper into new knowledge.
And I think there's a balance that we need to find when we're in that space of like learning and growing and maybe even becoming an expert in our field. There's a balance between being confident in your ability and being humble enough to not be
arrogant.
Thank you. There were a bunch of words that were going through my mind. None of them I could actually say out loud.
Arrogant. Yeah.
But yeah, it's a balance between not being an arrogant little, and like having confidence in your abilities and your knowledge enough to be like, no, I know what I'm talking about, and I have the ability to speak to my success and my knowledge.
Right. And I think,
but I also am willing to learn.
Right. And going back to like kind of like the job talk, I feel like confident yet humble people, this is how this would go down. They have everything they need to get a job, get this particular job. They put all of their eggs in one basket. They go after it in confidence that they're going to get it. And after they get it, they're in shock.
Yeah.
Because it's not like, I love that silence we just had. But it's like, oh my gosh, I got it. Like, I knew I was confident in my abilities and my on paper experience. But, gosh, on paper experience, but I'm still shocked that I got it, if that makes sense.
And I think there's also a component of recognizing your competition or other people that are applying for that job and saying, like, no, those are also very intelligent people that have a lot of relevant experience. And I think that shock also comes from that aspect of, like, oh my gosh, there were other people that were maybe better than me, so they obviously see something in me that maybe I don't.
Right.
But
that's fair.
Yeah.
Yeah. A good one. Number 3. The natural genius. In this imposter syndrome type, you may feel like a fraud simply because you don't believe that you are naturally intelligent or competent. If you don't get something right the first time around, it takes you longer to master a skill, you feel like an imposter.
Those people I have such a soft space in my heart for, because there's something so cool about the ability to say, like,
she looks sad today.
Well, then let's fix that.
Gosh, guys, we're so
Well, then
sorry.
Let's fix that. I have such a soft space in my heart for people like that because there's something so special about someone who's not naturally gifted or talented and instead proving themselves through hard work and dedication and drive and grind, because they can't, at the end of the day, no one can be like, oh, that's just natural. Like, they're just successful because they have this athletic ability or because this just makes sense for them. No, like, you can't discount their success.
Right.
Because they built it from the ground up.
Mm-hmm.
They put their mind to something and said, I'm not good at this, so I'm going to have to work really freaking hard at it.
Yeah.
And then boom, they do it. They put their mind to something and they achieve it, and it's freaking awesome. It's great. I love people like that.
Boom.
People who are not naturally gifted, and they just have to work really, really hard, and they build something really cool. I have a special place in my heart for them. And I want them to see themselves the way that I see them.
And you want to know something? I get frustrated with people who are naturally gifted. Like, naturally just a genius.
I don't get frustrated with them.
I do.
Unless
because I know
they're
the
arrogant.
Oh, yeah. Well, no.
But
sorry.
if someone combines both of those things, naturally talented and gifted and hardworking, wow.
I wasn't saying that I actually get, like,
oh, you're saying, yeah.
Like,
oh, you're saying,
it's just like one of those things that's like actually amazing because I'm not naturally a genius.
Yeah. So like, you're like, why do you get all this and I have to work for it?
Right.
Okay.
Like, how does your brain work like that? And you don't have to study or nothing, or you hear something for one time, and now you have it for life in your brain.
Okay. Yeah. No. Sometimes I do get jealous of people who have like photographic memory.
Yeah.
Like, that's so cool. Yeah. They could just know everything.
Like, it's true. Like, it's like,
what's that movie? Good Will Hunting. Like him. Have you ever seen that?
No.
Oh.
Whitney, you know, if
he has a photographic
movie,
memory.
I haven't seen it.
Anyways.
Okay.
Yeah.
Number 4, the soloist. It's possible to feel like an imposter. Let me restart. The soloist. It's also possible to feel like an imposter if you had to ask for help to reach a certain level or status. Since you couldn't get there on your own, you question your competence or abilities. Never, ever, ever be afraid to ask for help. Thank you.
She didn't stutter.
It doesn't make you any less than.
She did not stutter.
It doesn't make you any less than.
Actually, I agree.
Thank you.
Asking for help when you need it.
That's intelligence.
Proves that you are willing to learn, you want information, and you want to do something. And I think it, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ask for help. If you need help, ask for it. In whatever space that looks like.
Agreed.
And if you don't understand something, you can also ask for clarification. Ask for clarification. Always, when in doubt, ask for clarification.
Amen.
That's especially true in athletics.
Amen.
Because sometimes I would do that with my girls if I if I was telling them like, okay, this is what I want you to do and this is why. I would always ask them like, does that make sense?
That's what I asked.
Does that make sense?
I asked that. I was about to say that.
There are some times where I'll be like, okay, this is what I want and this is why. Does that make sense? And they'll be like, no. I'll be like, okay, I'm going to break it down a little bit more. Because I want you to succeed. And so I want it to make sense so that you can actually do what I'm asking.
Yes.
And sometimes if I don't, and then afterwards I'm like, I told you what to do and you didn't do it, they'll be like, I didn't understand. I was like, well, then why didn't you freaking tell me?
Yeah.
If you don't understand, let me know. We'll work through it together, and then it'll help both of us out. I won't be frustrated because you're doing the wrong thing.
Right.
You'll actually find success by doing the right thing.
Amen.
If you're confused, ask.
That's what I'm saying. Does that make sense?
Does that make sense?
Does that make sense? Okay.
That's probably my most used phrase as a coach. Does that make sense? And what questions do you have?
Yeah.
Not do you have any questions?
I say, does everybody understand? Like, after I ask, does it make sense? And then, like, people repeatedly get it wrong. I'm like, okay, does everybody understand? And then I'll, like, nod my head like, okay, I need a reaction. Anyway.
And if it doesn't, speak up now.
Yeah. Say it. All right. Number 5, the super person. This type of imposter syndrome involves believing that you must be the hardest worker or reach the highest levels of achievement possible, and if you don't, you're a fraud.
If you're not first, you're last. If you're not the best, you're the worst. And sometimes that's how we feel.
Yeah.
And that's normal. But it's not true.
Right.
You don't have to be the best to be really freaking good.
Yep. True.
I mean,
everybody who makes the NBA, NFL,
oh my gosh, that's
NHL,
what I was thinking of.
All of that, they're all good.
Yeah.
They're all very, very good at what they do, regardless if they're playing in the G League,
Yeah,
or in the NBA. Regardless
no, that's literally
if
what I
they're
was thinking.
The MVP or the 12th man off the bench.
If you're on the
roster,
you deserve to be there.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter if you're the starting player or not, or coming off the bench, because the roles are important. Yeah. Whatever role you play on your team, if you're contributing 100% in your role, you are making a difference and making an impact that is beneficial and helpful and great.
Yeah. So, Whitney, I have a question for you.
Yeah.
When people are going through this,
mm-hmm.
they need one thing. They need positive, you fill in the blank.
Self-talk.
Yeah!
Self-talk, self-talk, self-talk.
Good self-talk. The self-talk that is going to keep you motivated, keep you positive, and keep you moving forward.
And here's the thing. It's a really cheesy thing to talk about, because when you don't have positive self-talk and someone tells you that you should, you're like, that's dumb. But
you mean I have to be nice to myself, or I have to encourage myself, or I have to keep my brain from going off of a rail?
Because I didn't believe it for the longest time. And then I did research, and I had a coach that really, really prioritized it.
Yeah.
And basically forced me to do it. And I was like, you know what? Fine. I'll try it. And then a few months later, after I'd gotten myself into that habit, I was like, this is working. Crazy.
Wow.
But it sounds so stupid to tell someone that, but it works.
Yeah.
And it's helpful. And when you have positive self-talk and you are pouring into yourself in that way and speaking life into yourself, it makes such a big difference in how you perceive yourself and in how you approach different conversations or different experiences. And I'm getting really heated about it. I apologize.
Well,
but it's important.
If you guys want to hear all of Whitney's thoughts, as well as myself, I'm passionate about this realm as well. You're going to have to tune into the next episode.
Because next episode, we're going to go all into self-talk. What it means, what it is, how you do it, how you train yourself, maybe some statistics, why it's important. But we know why it's important.
And there's also, I will say there's also different, sorry, you got me on the edge of my seat.
Yeah.
There's also different ways and different, opportunities for you to do it. Anyway, I'll get into that next episode.
But we know it's important because it's one of the biggest ways you can combat imposter syndrome.
Yeah, I agree.
So, if you're feeling down, if you're feeling like you're not good enough, whatever that looks like for you, come back next week. We're going to talk about self-talk.
Yeah.
And why it's important.
Amen. Amen.
Happy Monday.
Or any other day that you're watching this podcast.
Thanks for tuning in.
Yes.
If you're interested, if you enjoy what you're hearing, feel free to follow us on Instagram and TikTok at podcast.personalopinion. Drop us some comments, what you want to hear.
Hey.
DM us.
Hey. You got on a roll there. That was good.
Thank you.
Oh, and Facebook and YouTube at Personal Opinion Podcast.
Personal Opinion Podcast. Lauren, I've got your back.
I've got your back.
And we've got yours.
We've got yours.
As always, we love you. We appreciate you. Have an amazing week. Next week is, okay. It's June.
Yeah.
Happy June. Make this a good month.
Yes. Start fresh.
Speak nicely to yourself and understand that you are more than capable to do what you put your mind to.
Amen. We're 5 months through the year. What are you doing to better yourself? Just saying.
We'll see you next week.
Bye.
Bye.